take that point, and actually that's what makes me so worried when I read this, was because you talk about the fact that you may be able to get maternity services back on track within 12 to 24 months, but that it won't be sustainable unless the whole organisational culture changes. So it just brings me back to where I started, which is, if that whole organisational culture has to change, if it all has to improve, if it all has to up its game, and we've got the same team in place, essentially, who are supposed to be charged with running this health board safely and effectively on behalf of the patients, to me there's a gap.
Yeah,
unless you can tell me that they're going to go on massive training courses, massive management development courses, you know, massive just awareness courses, then I just have a real gap, because it's the same team. How can they be making that change?
I'm not here to defend or act on behalf of the organisation. I'm here to challenge and provide reassurance on your behalf. So, you know, but all those things are recognised, they are being discussed, and you have my assurance that as a panel we understand that. We understand that our responsibility is not just to deliver the recommendations, but to provide assurance to you and to families and to those affected and to the staff that things will change, and they will change for real, and they will change in the long term. So, you know, I can only give you my commitment. 12 months' time, we can look back and you can ask me the same question.
Sorry, Kath.
It's all right, thank you. I think it's important that we recognise that I'm going to look at this from the perspective of women and families. You'll know that I was involved in the RCOG review. You know I wrote that report, listening to women and families about maternity services in Cwm Taf. And I was there when we did that feedback session for the review. And I understand just how that review team felt quite distressed by what they'd found, and you'll see that from the report. Yes. So I always go back to, if I was going to measure this, I'd be doing it from women and families' perspective. And one of the things that I've learned from previous work that I've done, and I work with families in Morecambe Bay, where very similar things happened, that one thing that you have to do is to get the people who work in the organisation to understand the impact of their actions, that there has to be a co-production approach. Now, that sounds sort of fairly fanciful, but when Mick was saying about things that have worked elsewhere, one of the things that did work in Morecambe Bay was that the staff began to understand that what happened was a direct result of failures of care, of failures of communication, of not just poor clinical practice, but the way in which those women, you've read the report, were not listened to, were not understood, and things weren't acted on.